Hi, Megan. We're just, we'll get started very soon. It's all good. I've started the broadcast. Yeah, thank you though. Hi everyone, welcome. We're just, we'll get started really soon. Just gonna wait for everyone to join in. Beautiful. So, do you want to just test your audio, Uncle Shaun?
Is that working now?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Oh, good.
Thank you. Excellent. So, welcome everyone to Dancing in Two Worlds. I'm just going to start up a small little slideshow to start off with our little welcoming screen. There we go. Hopefully you should all be able to see that. And we are live on Facebook at the moment as well, so people can listen in on Facebook too. So this part of KickstART Festival, KickstART Virtual, which Kobe Morrison has directed as part of Propel Youth Arts WA. And welcome. The event that we are hosting now is Dancing in Two Worlds. So I'm kind of representing Propel and myself here. We've also got a staff member, Cecile, as a panelist. So if you have any issues, you can just message in the chat, which you'll see at the bottom of your screen. So this is a written acknowledgement of country, but we'll do another kind of welcome, a proper welcome and an introduction and acknowledgement in a moment. There are other events as part of the KickstART Festival. So yeah, feel free to check that out, Propel Youth Arts WA. Yeah, so basically as part of Zoom, for anyone who hasn't used it too much, there's a chat at the bottom of the screen which you can message in and we can kind of engage with you in that way. So I see some here. Hello, Gemma. So yeah, it's awesome to see that some of you are using it already. Yes, Julia, it will be recorded. It's live on Facebook at the moment. So that's great that people are using that. Yeah, so I think that's probably pretty much it. But if you have any issues, basically, you can just check in the chat and we'll help you out. Beautiful. So started. So maybe, Shaun, did you kind of give a bit of an introduction and a start?
It's lovely to be a part of the group and sharing and supporting a concept of two worlds. It's been a little bit of time in lieu with all the coronavirus stuff happening. So I gather a lot of people may be recharged or having a sense of flatness or a sense of tiredness, whichever one. But certainly today's just a great chance to get together and connect in a way that brings the worlds together. And obviously it's lovely to be here. Did you want to do a welcome, Zal? Or?
Sure, maybe I can do a small acknowledgement first. I'd love to do that if that's okay.
Lovely.
Or yeah. Beautiful. So yeah, I live up in Lesmedi, so Wajak Buja, and I guess an acknowledgement of country to me is a way of taking a moment to take a breath and reconnect to the country, the land around us. You know, this storm that's just passing by. It's interesting, the rain's coming 20 days after the first rains off Jaren. So it's the 4th, 5th, 6th of May. And these beautiful rains come again. So there's that cyclic nature of things. And as we connect through an acknowledgement of country or a welcome to country, we can get that sense of taking a moment to look outside and then look within as well. So for me, that's a deep part of the acknowledgement of country, and also then to acknowledge the carers of country and the people that have been doing that for thousands and thousands of years, and to acknowledge elders, past and present, and also to acknowledge, in my culture, it's called Fravashis, which are the ancestors of the old spirits that look after all of us. So yeah, that's my one.
These are.
Welcome,
Yeah.
Shaun.
So in doing a welcome, guys, a lot of us wonder why and how a welcome comes about, and was it utilised for thousands of years? And I guess the wording changes, but the general energy for a welcome stays the same. And when understanding what the welcome represents, hopefully it'll tick a lot of boxes in other areas of the conversation today and beyond around culture as a full stop. So when we get into the welcome, it usually comes from a person of country because of the information of the bloodline and the gene and the relationship that we have instantly to this beautiful area we call Wajak, which is part of 14 clans of the Biberman Nation. And for our people, there was no separation of groups. It was more of a nurturing and caring of country that was really depicted by the plants and birds and the river and the trees of each area that you're in. And we had over 1,500 different plant species in the southwest, so you can imagine the diversity there for our communication to this area. And so for us as Aboriginal people, we always have a local Indigenous person to do the welcome who is in flow with that old language of love for all things equally. And that is why when we speak the language, we're then getting into a rhythm. Art, song, dance, language, story is our way of being. And if you speak only one of those, then you're not flowing in the old cultural way, because it's important to bring all those elements together as one. So imagine if you listen to a beautiful song, as Zal will sing for us soon, and you turn it up, and the people around you who are nearby hears it, they'll go, oh, that sounds really nice. I might come over and listen to it a little bit more. And they'll stop and they'll bathe in it. And they'll listen. And they'll start to tap their feet, and the center of their heart starts to get in tune with the rhythm. And time stops. And people just are in the presence of something that connects them to their center. And for us, when we speak the language and we do the dance in the cultural ways, we then humbly ask the spirits of our great, 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 great grannies to naturally want to be a part of the rhythm of this thing that we call life. And how exciting it is to be a part of it. So for us now to do the welcome for you is to invite those old Demagamanga, we call them, our old spirit, coming from the spirit country, and we call that Mundanak, the coming of the spirits. And we invite them to be a part of our day, support us, nurture us, as they have done before they were alive. And it's a beautiful role to give balance and support to all things great. So we now say, Warawira Buya Kanan. Bad spirit, go away. We don't need you right now. Murichwirandat Yening Kroberdan. Yen Yen Yaku. Good spirit, come sit, not in the air, but in our skin, dat Yening. And when you feel the goosebumps going over your body, as I've said many times, that's the old people dancing on your skin saying, yay, we're a part of you. We're here. We walk in the footsteps of you, our old people, who, as you know, walked in the footprints of the kangaroo, the emu, the wallaby, the goanna, and so on. Great teachers they are. Wanju Nija Wajak Nyunga Buja Wanju Nija Wajak Murich Yogas Wanju welcome. Murich is really good. Yoga is our women, Murich Marman is our men. To our children, our Kulingas, it's been very much a pleasure to welcome you to country and be tuned of that old language that hopefully will reinforce the two worlds that we wish to support you with today. Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle Shaun. Yeah, so I think something that I'd love to see, if anyone would like to write in the chat, what two worlds that you feel you might be existing within, or what the concept of dancing in two worlds means to you. And that may give us an opportunity to bounce off that energy that you provide. Something that I might do now is to share a song with you. And this song, as you're writing, yeah, feel free to give that a shot. So this song is called This Old Song, and it's a song that I wrote about this place that I am living in now, and I wrote it with my friend Morrison. I approached him to see if he may like to add something to it, and together we weaved a narrative and a story of a connection to something that was like a rhythm that had been going for a long time. If you kind of imagine a giant wave, kind of like a big one, and all of us are like the small waves, and that big wave is that long, deep time, or the land, you know, the earth, the universe. So yeah, it's called This Old Song. As I take a step towards the dirt road path, walk to the water, the reflection shows my past. Wrinkled eyes and weary legs, my body's aching, it's time to rest. As I take a step towards the dirt road path, and behind me rests the city and the sound, where dreams are made but never reached and never found. when the falls reflect the sun-pink sky, the waves roaring, we begin to cry. There the rhythm of my spirit sings again. This old song knows me well, knows my heart, knows my mind, knows my smell. It knows the thoughts I bring and the pain I hold, all beliefs that I've been shown. We as a mother child can sing our song again. So pause with me and let our breathing slow. Can you feel this world as it once was known? Recite the words and they will tether us to the teachings of the ancestors, ringing true as they've done long ago. Yamajinunga Caro Cottage ninja biri nunukuli Mirangarda malo purna warden yera nija puja kalya kudurda kwindang yeri. This old song knows me well, knows my heart, knows my mind, knows my smell. It knows the thoughts I bring and the pain I hold, all beliefs that I've been shown. We as a mother child can sing our song again. Windang yeri, cottage ngan, cottage good, cottage in worminya, kajin karni wangingan, cottage in warpakambarang, alam yang kurlang, Caro aran king. It knows the thoughts I bring and the pain I hold, all beliefs that I've been shown. We as a mother child can sing our song again.
Awesome. Way to go, Zal.
Thanks, Uncle. So some people, I don't know if you can see the chat, Uncle, but some people have written, so Stav has written, dancing between two worlds for me relates to a few things, but especially growing up bilingual and navigating the worlds that are linked to the languages. Gem King has written, walking in two worlds, identifying as Wajalayok, but listening to Noongar peoples to learn how to live on this buja with respect and love. Thank you for sharing those two thoughts with us, those two feelings. And
Yeah.
I'd like to invite you, Uncle Shaun, if you'd like to maybe connect with what dancing in two worlds kind of represents for you.
Yeah. So there's a there is a synergy going on when it comes to dancing in two worlds, as in spirituality and physical, for me, from understanding how to maintain connection to both and finding a way to be able to see beyond what's in front of us. And I gather that's for me. I believe everything is it synergizes, comes together quite harmoniously, and so respecting those two worlds of being takes us beyond now just of the physical. So we have the spirit, the body, and the mind, and the soul, so to speak. And then we have the smell, taste, touch, hear, and see. And then we have the art, song, dance, language, story. And having all those blending together, I believe, it respects the relationship between two worlds for me.
Beautiful. And yeah, thank you for sharing that. And you know, I've been reflecting on dancing in two worlds and the concept of what it means to me as well. And something that I know about the concept of the two worlds is a similar context in terms of spirituality versus physical, or the spiritual world and the real world, or connecting the imagination, as you said before, with the thoughts and the logical side of the brain. But a way to represent that for me using song or the voice is the concept of the sound om. So it's not necessarily two, but it's three. So if you can split the word om up into three sounds, there's the o, the a, and the m. And the o, if you actually sing it, you can try now. If you go o, if you do that, you connect the sound. It resonates in your belly or your soul. You go ah, you can hear the sound connecting in your chest, your heart, and you go and you hear the sound connecting in your mind, your head, your mind, your mouth. So these are three worlds, and for me, that when you sing om all together, what that physically does is it resonates through all three of those, connecting them. And for me, that kind of is a representation of the concept of the dance of two worlds, because without the dance, there's just two worlds and they're separate. Without the om, there's three sounds and they're separate. And in the same way, in our cultures, you know, there may be the two worlds in whatever way that we want to describe them, whether that's physical and spiritual, or that's this culture, that culture, this religion, that religion, old, young, whatever. But without the dance or without the sound or without the art, without the connection of them, they're just separate and something's missing. So that's my knowing of this concept at the moment.
Okay. Nice ones, Al.
Yeah, thanks. And on that note, Shaun, I was hoping that I guess to bring some understanding of this area and this this area of country, if you'd like, I'd again like to invite you to share some story with everyone to start that connection and the understanding as well, and just get some thoughts going again, some feelings.
Okay, so being on the Whadjuk or Biberman Nation, we're looking at how we flow together and allow the Belladong people over the hill as an example. They are pretty much dictated by the plants as we travel from one place to another. And if we were to do our best to understand the rhythm between both worlds, so to speak, with Whadjuk, and then we got Belladong, northern area, then we start to travel, and when we travel, we start to notice the difference in the rhythm of the river and the actual trees and the sand and the rocks. Everything changes to subtly, but very muchly clear when you see it. Some people don't notice it because those subtlenesses are very powerful. It shows that you have an intimacy, and that's when you're intimate with somebody who you love and worship and care for, and who does in return. It's those subtlenesses that people will notice at certain times in your life where you'll go to the shop and you'll buy chocolate, and you won't just buy, and we've got thousands of different types of chocolate. But if you go in and you buy one for your loved one or your friend or whoever it might be, and you get the one that they know, you know, that they actually really love, people say, oh, how did you know that person likes hazelnut? Or how do you know that person likes orange more than lemon? Because it's time spent in tune with the rhythm of a person, and you don't have to ask the question. You know, and you just buy it, and you just do it. And so when we travel through country, that's what's happening. And one of the great ways of showing this transition is through the river. And the river is life. And so I'll start there. And if we look at the Swan River today, we call it Derby Yirigan. But in the old language, we say Biblia. Biblia, Biblia, Biblia. And if you hear a drop of water, it's a soft hitting of firm. Very simple, but very important intimacy of understanding the river flow. So when we go, as we start to move through the country, and if we were coming through from Belladong, which is a beautiful river relationship with us, we can't have one without the other. So when we do welcomes and talks and anything about the country, we generally bring their flow of language into us. The same as the Inuit mob above us, and that's Mora, and then you go down into Binjarra country, which is Binjarra way. We start to see this flow of culture, rhythm and dance all come together. And so as you come from Belladong country, they say Guguya. And if you hear that in a higher singing sort of approach, Guguya, 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 Guguya. And if you start to sing that as you start to move, imagine the young children or people that are moving with them. And then we come across that time where the trees start to change and the sand and the stones and everything changes. And then we start singing the Biblia. And we start to then get into the flow of the Biblia song. So Guguya, 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 Biblia, 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 Biblia. And when you hear that shift and that change, it naturally starts to invoke an inquisitiveness to the people around. Oh, what happened there? I heard the change. And we say to them, did you feel it? Do you see it? Do you hear beyond? And that's where we start to get in tune with the two worlds of unity and flow. And when you start to be inquisitive about one thing, then you're inquisitive about all things. And that's forever. There is no stopping the growth and the inquisitiveness, because there's always something more to learn, because everything changes. And when things change, then we have to be adaptable, and we have to show that intimacy, that we understand when something does shift and changes. And we see the time of the winds changing at certain times of the year, the moon, and everything around us starts to really be affected by subtle change. So none more so than a story that was utilised by the papers many years ago now. There was some people talking about the river, that the water was getting a little bit unhealthy. And as you can imagine, Aboriginal people and many people who are connected to the river and country had spoke up to the government and others around who are involved in managing that river, and said, you know, we're having some really bad issues about algae and the small things, the subtleness. And this person was connected to the Western Australian, very well-off person, shall I say. It doesn't matter whether they're rich or not, but down there in near Point Walter, some very wealthy people used to sit out on the balcony and look at the river and see the dolphins coming out regularly. And they were doing their normal hunting and gathering and so forth. And well, a few days had passed and they hadn't seen the dolphin come up the river. And straight away they went, well, there's something happening here. So they got on, because they were connected to someone in the Western Australian. There was a big front page news about how these dolphins weren't coming up the river and that it's a catastrophe, and where people are not enjoying the presence of these dolphins. And so this uproar happened. And a lot of people that were once again trying their best to, and failing in getting people to be proactive about some of the subtle changes, felt very upset that for someone who was connected to the Western Australian, someone who was able to get such a big response and action, but yet no one was listening when the certain algae was forming, which then means that certain crustaceans in the river went there. The prawns, as an example, they were gone a long time ago. And then you have the other ones, the mussels. You can't eat them in the river because they are just so connected to whatever's in that water. And they can survive a fair long time. But the ones that are really the most critical alert is when the frogs are not in the water. These guys, they are very sensitive to a lot of things. And the frogs are a great indicator of a very healthy ecosystem. And when you don't have them in there, well, then we have to ask the question, why is it that we have to wait till the Big Bang, so to speak? Why can't we see the subtlety of change that is happening and act accordingly to that rhythm that we can feel instantly? It's just it's an incredible thing to be connected to. And so for a lot of us, being connected means that we get to feel and take responsibility and have a sense of involvement in its ownership. And so, well, once you smell, taste, touch, hear, and see, in other words, once you feel it, smell it, taste it, and hear it, you can't never let it go. It's gone. It's in you. That's it. And so a lot of people call us activists, troublemakers, people who, you're overthinking it. You're trying to make something up so you can get some sort of control. This is an in-depth call within yourself, that you're naturally a part of this great rhythm. And when you allow yourself to soften certain parts of the teachings of today, I can be a bit brutal in my words, but I'm going to be in this instance. We have to soften the left side of the brain a bit. Try not to analyze too much and allow ourselves to be in the flow of pure energy, and the truth and the answers come. And we don't have to question it anymore. It is a call for action that we have embedded in all of us. That's that spirituality of truth. And so if we want to dance in two worlds, getting in tune with the rhythm of that beautiful river, well, that's a spiritual energy flow. And when you do that, then now we're in the present. We have an opportunity to answer the call of that. Because who else but us? My mother always said, Irene Nannup, she's the most amazing woman that many people could vouch for in their own right because they felt her. They've seen her presence in many, many places. And she has left a legacy that when you speak her name, people go, yep, I know if you've been able to be time with her, and we know exactly what you're talking about, and you don't have to say any words. We just get into the process of saying, well, if she was here, we know that she would stand strongly for unity for all. And that is not going to stop until the dying breath of me. And I'm sure my children's children will speak the same. Because it's just part of us. Treat the river like a family. Treat the birds like a family. Why would that be one of the most hardest things that we find in the culture of today? Why? So I hope that helps, Zal. Are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that was beautiful. Thank you very much. And it actually reminds me of a moment in my life, which may actually help to answer your question about why. Because I recall this time when I was going through quite a difficult time in my life, and I was walking through some of the bushland just northeast of here, and I was on my own. And I didn't have my phone or anything like that. I was, just going out there to connect. But at that time, I was so in my own mind that I couldn't even see. You know, I was looking, but I couldn't see. I was listening, but I couldn't hear. And I was walking along, just the mind was going, 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 and the feelings were going, going, going. And these two red-tailed black cockatoos just started screeching really loud. And I just stopped and I looked up and I just was like, you know, then all the questions came. Why are they screeching? What are they doing? Who are they? What does it mean? And I remember after that, when I raced home and I got my phone, and the first person I messaged was you. And I said, Uncle Shaun, I just saw these red-tailed black, you know, I was feeling so much stuff. I was really in my head. I was walking alone and I saw these two red-tailed black cockatoos. What does it mean? And I just remember you saying this, your answer was, yes, sometimes it's nice to see things and to just sit with that and let the meaning just come to you and just, you know, just experience it, you basically said. And I remember, you know, because in a lot of the stories that you tell, well, in that initial story you tell about when you were taken out on country and you kept asking you, what does it mean? What does it mean? Just tell me the answer. It was almost like that same thing. I was just saying, just tell me the answer. I remember after I just was like, what do you mean just experience? What are you talking about? Just tell me what the red-tailed black cockatoo means. And in fact, now I do understand what that, you know, what that message, what you were saying, without necessarily saying it, which was, it's for me to experience, like it's for me to feel, it's for me to figure it out in whatever way that I need to, in whatever space that I need to. The answers will come. In fact, the question is almost the answer itself.
Well, with that, there is an intimacy there.
Mm.
And it's those intimate moments that are special between two worlds, so to speak. And then how do you now share that with others? Because the environment was really the foundation of that intimacy, you know, and to get, what does this mean? For me to be in your space, in that moment, in that time, it's very difficult because it's something you are truly in tune with. It's your story. And so for us, we want to give that power back to you and make sure that you know that this is the intimacy that continues to grow. And slowly but surely, those messages or the answers or whatever we feel, the enablements will come and we'll go, oh, yes. And the wise people of our world, you know, look at you and go, fantastic. I was once there. And I, as you said, you know, wanted to know the answers, but, you know, time and patience and trust in yourself is a virtue. It's just something that it's a never-ending gift. When someone sits and says, you know, I believe in you finding this will happen. It'll keep you the carrot in front of you, or the keep you sense of longing. And on the way, you get to get so many other questions answered before that you get to that one. And who would want to take you away from all those other answers in striving for one? Well, who would want to do that? And that's my uncle and my dad and many others. You'll understand, son, as they would always say to me, you'll understand one day. The penny will drop, so to speak. But wait, that one will go and then there'll be another one. There'll be another sense of frustration. And you'll be doing this for the rest of your life. So enjoy the journey, as my Uncle Noel and my dad and my mother will. My mum's a bit more straight down the line. She'll just say, no, you do this, do that, and get on with it. Whereas my dad, son, how about you try it this way? Why don't you do this? And it's like, yeah, so you know, that's why the beauty, I was so lucky to have my mother and father. So, you know, just having, hear you say that, it really is great to hear, Zal. You're on your way, mate. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thank you. That again kind of connects me to a different story. I also was feeling that I might play another song to shift that energy. But on that note, there's this. So in the Bhagavad Gita, there is a kind of like a concept or a understanding that comes, and the essence of the concept is that there's like an infinite imagination, and we create meaning by putting like a boundary or a shape around either something or emptiness and the infinite nature of that. And that lesson there is almost the same lesson, because there's an infinite amount of meanings that can come from that experience, and it is that intimate experience that I was having. And to trust myself is to know that I know what it means to me in that moment, in that time, and to just listen.
So for all, what Zal, I would like to share with you is that when you sing a song or you say certain words, you don't go through the process of saying, right, I'm going to say, hello, good to see you all. It is nice to be a part of your day. You don't do that. You just get into the rhythm, and once you start, the next word comes.
Mm.
Same when you sing now, Zal. You're not thinking of the words because you've been in the rhythm of those words and your actions of your chords. It's a feeling now.
Mm.
And that's culture. And when you start to analyze it and you break it down into sections, then you got a lot of work to do. For our mob, we look and go, oh, we got to start very slowly with you, son. But when you walk, when you're a baby, it was very tough to get you to take your first few steps. But that's the beauty of being patient. That's the beauty of our great wisdom of our elders. They just understand because I've been there. So awesome, Zal.
Thank you. Yeah, so this song's one called Earth, Sky, and We in Between. I actually wrote it when we were doing a workshop, and we went out to the grass and we connected up to the sky and the earth, and then there was that in between, and it was a physical movement that we did.
Yeah, nice one.
Yeah, and I actually got home, and my friend Simon, he was staying with me, and we went up and we went up and sat on the rocks and kind of just wandered there, found our way there, and it was dark. The stars came out, and we just said, why don't we write a song together? Why don't we just write some words down, and you do a sentence, I'll do a sentence. And the first thing that he wrote down was the earth, the sky, and we in between. And he wasn't even there with us on that day. It was the same day, just after I'd done that movement. And I was just like, this is awesome that we're connected in this way, that we're on that path together. So this one's kind of about, like, this is about friendship, and it's about walking a path together with someone else as well as with ourselves. I feel calm and peace red sky fades and the stars appear. It's nice to sit with you up here. Connect to ourselves and we can share the tears. Oh, the earth, the sky, and we in between. Oh, where energy collides like in a dream. Sometimes it's hard to scream, though you want to scream. Let's walk this road together. No, you're not alone, and you got a friend in me. Energy surrounds us everywhere. It connects us so we can share. Spirit breathes and comes alive. All things flow like the rolling tide. Ooh, the earth, the sky, and we in between. Where energy collides like in a dream. Just watch the river flow and let it go. When you connect to everything, your spirit glows, and it will show. Your spirit glows, and it will show.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome.
Beautiful.
Oh. How was that for you, mate?
Yeah, it was really nice to reconnect back to that moment, sharing that time with Simon,
Yeah.
and just reconnecting to that rhythm, that flow. It's one of the words. Just watch the river flow and let it go.
Yeah.
I like. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. It's in the letting go we find peace. And we will find peace at some stage in our life. It's always better to find it while we're living. And the gift that keeps giving.
I was in my mind. It was just coming up. Those words. It just said, "Uncle Shaun, did you want to talk a bit about the gift that keeps giving?" That's the question that I had in my mind, and then you just said it.
See, there's the spirit or the rhythm that leads us naturally on the same path without question. And people try to now want to analyze that and get some sort of scientific understanding to it because they want to feel safe. Is there something really beyond this? Oh my goodness. Yes, there is. And when you see it, game over. I've seen things you cannot explain. I've felt things you can't explain. It just is, even if you tried, people will look at you and go, now that's impossible. And that's the magic of dancing in two worlds, where things are just extremely possible. And if we get the chemistry right, you know, we can have peace and love across the world. Why not?
So a question that I have for you, Shaun, is what happens when there's a block to that flow or that rhythm?
We have to acknowledge, we need to express it, and then we got to let it go. So when we get into a block system of connection, it's either a learnt experience or something that's been given to us with conscious or unconscious gift. And sometimes we just say, this doesn't feel right to me, and why? I can't give it words. It just doesn't feel right. And so we go through a process of identifying why that is. And sometimes we've got to just get into the rhythm of our life story or dance or song for us to be able to unlock that. Because the intimacy is yours. And that's why we go to a psychiatrist. That's why we go to culture, wisdom, Buddha, Gandhi. And we go to these people because they've experienced enlightenment and a sense of freedom beyond the pains and life's journey. So we can then have a sense of freedom in ourselves. But the intimacy is in their life journey. And that's important for you to be able to regain the strength within your own being, that you have the answers within you. And we've got to unlock that. So get you to paint yourself, get you to sing yourself. These are the things that we tell the story of yourself, but we've got to go into both worlds to be able to get these elements, these ways of being, truly flowing. And we may not go directly to the pain or the block that we have within ourselves. We can dance around it. And then slowly but surely, it will slowly but surely become part of the rhythm. And all of a sudden, we start to see outcomes that we never thought we could have. I don't know, today, I'm just going to give up cigarette smoking. Something happened, I'm not too sure, but I've made a decision and I will not touch another cigarette in my life. And trust me, that's what happened to my dad. Chain smoker. Stopped. Some people say, well, I'm never going to work again for this world. And they do. And they find a way. No, I found my job. I'm going to be doing this, 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 this. And created balance. So somehow, some way, we just got to take a little bit of pressure off our surroundings. Allow it to be a link to you. And then the rest comes. So, yeah, I hope that sums it up a little bit.
Yeah, that's really beautiful, because I actually have a song that I feel fit that.
Cool.
It's called River of Love, and it's in two parts. I wrote it, a few months ago, and I think I'll just play it because yeah. If the question is, how do I do that? What you just said. This is a song that comes to mind. Well, all of my music is that in some way, because sometimes a block is just a learning thing, whereas other times it's like from the past. Sometimes it's from the future, sometimes it's in the present or whatever.
So is it okay to have a block?
Sorry?
Is it okay to have a block?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a human being.
Yeah. And how do we say to people, it's okay to have it, as long as it doesn't stop you from living and being connected. And if it does, you got a little bit of work to do. You should be excited about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about this song because it reflects that journey of one of the blocks that I had.
Nice.
Yeah. This story told all the song, all the oceans couldn't wait for you. The water flows, fills the cracks as the air holds us back. A naked gem, crushed like sand. It takes time. But a fire died in the loneliness of a sparkless night. No air to breathe, no eyes to see, a soundless voice. It's how I feel, how I fall to feel. Fear is the blood in the river of love. My heart goes anywhere I need to go. I know that my love is strong as I feel the flow. I went down so deep in depths below, like whales the sounds were soft and slow. Now I come alive once more. I'm loved. I'm home. I'm loved. I'm home. I'm loved. I'm home. I'm loved. I'm yeah, with added magpie 28 parrot and
Nice.
another bird in there. Yeah,
Oh, way to go. So
yeah.
awesome, man.
That's a song called River of Love, and yeah, that the way that I imagine that I've drawn it as well, but can't show the drawing. But to visualize that drawing, I have like a drawing of a river, and in that river there are certain logs. Sometimes there are really big logs that are stuck under the water, And um, and sometimes what we do is we stand on the side of the river and we get sticks and we try and like poke the logs that we can see, and we poke them to try and let them loose, to let the flow of water come. But sometimes what we don't realize is that as we're doing that, we're adding more sticks in. You know, we might drop a few more sticks, and we're too afraid to actually get in the water and look what's under there and see those kind of bigger logs that may be there. Sometimes we get underwater and we see, oh, there's actually no big logs. It just looked like there was, because everything's magnified in water. So that song kind of takes me into that world of that story as well, of this beautiful image of a river. And when we just dive in and we go under there, and then we can kind of move those logs out the way and let that flow.
What happens when the logs are there, though?
What happens when the logs are there is that the water flow can get slower. It can stop.
And what happens inside where that water slows down?
Certain things start to accumulate. It gets unhealthy.
Does it? Does it get unhealthy? Because in those places, there's a lot of crustaceans and a lot of things live in those places. So when you move and shift the log, you take away a lot of homes, a lot of things that create a salvation in there.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
So sometimes it's good to have them. Sometimes, and then it's important for them to move, because these crustaceans, these things that, or these little things that grow there, need those moments in time to be able to get strong. So when the log does go, they then go into the greater pool. Does that make sense?
Definitely. It reminds me of the cycle of the river that I live by, which is that it does slow down in the summer and it stagnates, and certain things do kind of thrive in that area. But then the heavy rains come and all of that gets washed away, and then it happens again and again.
As an emotional block or something that blocks us, sometimes we feel it's the biggest burden on our life. But in those moments of blockness, we actually learn so much about ourselves and how strong we become when we release it and see the gifts that came from that sense of block. So where's the empowerment? Where's the subtlety that we know has created this sense of being that we are in today? You can write those songs based upon a place that really we can feel. And a gift came. So allowing yourself now, hopefully there's a gift there for me to show you that that block isn't something that we wish obviously some things never happened. Don't get me wrong. But in life, as you know, we have these things that happen, and that's where we find strength sometimes, in these subtlenesses within the great block. So as a wise young person told me, and remember, some of our great teachers are not just the elderly, right? They're the ones that come beyond their age, and said, do you know that in every great storm, the rain will finally come to an end because it has no more rain to fall? So we in that lesson there is that the storm comes and the water can only be held for so long. So cleansing comes from the rain falling. As tough as it is right now for some, it's the land is saying, yay, isn't that beautiful? Some cars are being damaged and some houses are in a bit of trouble and we don't have power. For us, it's a huge block. But for others, I see it as a great opportunity to create a cleansing and regrowth. And the clouds will stop dropping their rain. So hopefully our tears will as well. How many tears can fall, Zal?
Infinite, I guess. as many as are needed.
Be prepared, because there will be a storm coming in the future. And know that when the rain stops, your tears stop. There'll be a time for cleansing and times for regrowth. And I know some of my family are on here at the moment, and I hope that they know that it's an amazing future coming, and we've got to show people it's okay to let the storm come. It's okay. We'll come together, and our regrowth and our sense of being will provide spaces like this, dancing in two worlds and showing unity will overcome all, and all those wonderful things that come from the simple things in life, but very, very, very important. Great song. Way played.
Thank you. Yeah. There was a fire symposium a few days ago, which Pop Noel was a part of. And Richard Wally mentioned
Uncle.
Yeah.
Uncle Richard Wally. Sorry.
No. Uncle Richard Wally.
Or Pop.
I just.
Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay.
You're either in or you're out. I'm sorry. That's just, you know me.
Yeah.
But subtle is very important.
Yeah. Pop Richard Wally said he mentioned three things. One was about like creation. The second one was about maintenance, and then the third one was about destruction, and that fire has the ability to do all three. And there's like a motion in that, and that was just something that came to mind, how the elements reflect these concepts constantly. It's like signs that are there just reminding us, well, me, I see it as signs that are there reminding me about the way that things are just as they are, and the way that I am as I am. So yeah, I just wanted to share that.
Nice.
That really connected to me. Yeah.
Yeah, Uncle. They've got some great teachers around them, don't they?
Definitely. Yeah, so a question that I had for you, Shaun, was that I would love to hear a story about a block that you've had, or some kind of connection of the two worlds that you've been able to create in your life, or an experience of that's happened.
Yeah, I guess the first thing that jumps to mind is that I was reacting to a lot of the mainstream world living today. I grew up living just a mainstream lifestyle, no culture or anything like that. It was just something in the distance, nothing really, proactive in my life. So as I started to grow, the world really could see and acknowledge this sense of connection to this thing in the distance, but I wasn't acknowledging that. And then things happened in between those times of enlightenment, so to speak, of culture and my sense of being today, that really I made some really poor choices. And I think as I started to realize this, this two worlds, so to speak, where I was getting separated, even though I was connected to this mainstream world, I wasn't connected. And then I was told that I was Aboriginal. I was told I was a part of this amazing thing but yet I wasn't connected to that either. So I was caught in between. So I really lashed out because I was very vulnerable to not being able to identify consciously what was really happening within me. And so people would say, "Oh, Shaun, you're really reacting quite aggressively. You're really reacting without a sense of ownership or control." It was just blah. And so I just thought the best thing for me to do is to end my life, because that was subconscious, not conscious. I just had this want to just stop the sense of frustration that I was feeling, and I didn't want to let people down that I actually loved and cared about. And so I thought it was the right thing to do, even though I wasn't thinking that. I was just reacting to it. And as I went through the relationship with Rosin and Wisdom in Your Life, which is our company now, I went through the process of acknowledging acceptance and expressing it, and then letting go of this want to control things and manipulate things in a way that really gave me a sense of safety, that I should know. I should. But at the end of the day, no matter how much learning and teaching you have, you'll never know everything. You're just going to keep on learning. So whatever stage I was 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 1500, whatever it is, it's still the same. I'm still having this battle of identity and figuring out, how do I maintain a sense of balance and safety? And so I went through the process with the art, song, dance, language, story, got a beautiful relationship with the right and middle and the left and the back of my brain, and which then gave me a way to articulate words of this truth, that I was a young person. And I don't have control of everything. And I'm entitled to make mistakes. I'm entitled to react in a way that doesn't seem, right or morally or whatever it might be. And it's okay. But it's not okay, once you understand it and know it, to continue the pattern. We have a responsibility to love and nurture oneself and accept the truth that we are able to grow from something that we know can separate us so much. So I took a fairly long time to get to this point where I can look at myself in the mirror and say, well, Shaun, I'm entitled to still make mistakes today, but let's make sure that it's not ones that I did years ago where I just know that I was just reacting to something that really made me feel very, very vulnerable. And I'm very lucky to have people who are very patient and very understanding. And I think that's, for me, I hope I answered that question, that, yeah, I just couldn't believe that, what happened to my grandmother and my grandparents was just pushed under the carpet, and just for them to be treated the way they were, and for me not to be able to protect my grandmother and my grandparents. I find that terribly hard to live with. And then seeing that my father and my uncles and my aunties and my mother, the bitterness of being alive from the mainstream world, the constant struggle to maintain a sense of life and values that they were born with, to be instilled into us. They fought damn hard. And they never gave up. And so whenever I feel the sense of this old being of separation by manipulation, or by degrading, or by, before I'd go straight to anger. No, not when I'm in the presence of this, you'll ever step on top of my father or my mother or my grandmother or my grandfather, ever. You're never going to be able to do that. Physically, I said that years ago. And I was very physical, because I just reacted, and I thought it's the right thing to do, because I was in martial arts. I did all this stuff, and I was supposed to be doing it with conviction of truth, that We should stand up for ourselves. We should show people that it's not okay to be discriminative, no matter who it is. But in the process of anger hurt people. And I was hurting people through my sense of righteousness that, you shouldn't have said about Aboriginal people. You should not say that there was never a stolen generation and Aboriginal people should get over it. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't look at a refugee and say, oh, you make my life bad because you came here on your boats and now our life is disrupted because we're so perfect. No. You shouldn't look at these young kids who are born into a system that really does not give them the freedom to be able to love and nurture oneself in a way that it should be. And look at those kids like Judge Dennis Reynolds did many, many moons ago when he was the head judge of the children's court. And he had to look at young kids who were committing offences and doing things that he knew they were born into. These are innocent children, and now they're living in. He has to judge them on that. So we've got a big responsibility to make sure now that we learn from our past. So these blocks that I had, I hope I can show others around that love is the answer. I can get angry with people, yes, but it's more frustration about myself accepting those who are going through a time which really is their journey. Who am I to come in and say, you just need to do this and you need to do that? Who am I to do that? I just give a space and say, you know what, man, it's a tough thing to be able to identify some things. And it's really tough then to have the wisdom to say, it's not mine to own and I need to let go of it. You can be angry all you want. You're only going to hurt yourself in the end. You've got to choose deep down what serves you. And going out there and intimidating the intimidators was not serving me at all. I needed to build a relationship with my grandparents and the history of this country, and then build one that's beyond. And that's thousands and thousands and thousands of years old. And that overshadows all the pain and all the problems. To my little nephew here on now, he's not a little, he's a big boy, find the way to understand the gifts that many, many have fought so hard for. And that gives us hope. So I lived in hope that spending time with Rosa and my Uncle Noel and my mum and dad's teachings that were natural. My grandparents' teachings came, and then my great-great-grandparents came even quicker. And so, yeah, I know I find it hard to give you a one answer, 2-word answers. I hope that helped and supports the day. I know our time is getting away from us, but thank you.
Mm-hmm. No, we've got plenty of time. We've still got 40 minutes. So.
Oh, right. We're doing a 2-hour one today. Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we got till 1. So we got some time. Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. And I guess another question comes up from that, and maybe I'll play a song after that. And the question is around the word patience, because you brought that up. And I'll keep it simple. What does patience mean to you? Or how have you experienced that in your life?
Patience is acceptance of the things we can control and things that we can't. And to allow others and anything around us to manifest its own personal journey of truth. And then having the wisdom to see it within yourself. For me, that's as simple as I can put it. So, without going into too much detail. But wisdom of being able to just hold space and hold energy and allow it to go where it needs to go and enjoy the moments. As we know, most storms will stop dropping rain at certain stages. And trust in that.
I feel that I have the right song for this moment. It's called Caro. It's written by my friend Kobe Morrison, my brother Kobe Morrison. And it's a song that he has offered for me to sing, both within our choirs and today for you as well.
Way to go.
Yeah, it's called Caro. This won't end. The lies will not bend the truth. Hold our own. We won't hate though they tell us to. There are more important things to do. With our truths, the hearts will mend. This won't be our end. We'll rise again. We'll rise again. From the start, all of our hearts are drenched in red. The same blood, we have it now as we did then. May we never leave this unsaid. If not now, then when we rise and rise again. We'll rise again. We'll rise and rise again. We'll rise again. One by one, word by word, here we are, ngalang, ira, karo, yaka, we'll rise and rise again. We'll rise again. We'll rise again. Ngalang ira Caro. Ngalang ira Caro. Ngalang ira Caro. Ngalang ira Caro. Ooh. So yes, that is Caro, written by Kobe Arthur Morrison. Beautiful song.
Way to go.
Yeah.
So how does that make you feel to sing that, Sal?
It's interesting, like after performing a song, you know when you watch like a basketball match and there's or a football match or whatever, and the commentators like come up and they go blah, 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 and then they ask the person like a question, and the sports player's always like, yeah, like it was pretty good. We just did our best. Like we made it through. We just did the thing, and yeah, it was good. It's like that's kind of like the feeling that I have after performing a song. Usually, you know, it's quite hard to come back to using words again, because I'm so in that other space of time and things like that. But that's how it feels. Timeless. Yeah. Connected.
Do you think, Zal, it would be, do you think it's possible for people to take the words and the meaning of our cultures and never speak of them again and just be one race?
Yes.
What would it take to be able to see that come to life and be true?
Acceptance.
How much time would it take
As
for the
long as it,
world to see everyone as one and no longer speak of these words of Aboriginal, Chinese, American, Scottish, French? It's all made up, Zal. It's all made up in our own minds, and it's passed down from generation to generation. And we live this sense of truth that we call ourselves these beings. When and how long would it take for the world to amend our minds from these injustices of separation?
as long as it takes.
In our lifetime?
Maybe.
I commend your optimism.
Nature has a fantastic way. The universe has a fantastic way of doing things that no one expects.
So when do we now take ownership over what we contribute to the timeline of change that may never happen? What's our contribution to this, Zal?
I'd say that was my first answer, which is acceptance. That is the contribution I see, because through that comes all of the rest. For each individual, it's not really a we, it's more of an I. Like I accept. And doing that through all the means. But it's more of, I don't want to complicate it.
So what are you? What are you, Zal? What do you believe you are to be? Give me a description of yourself if you were to explain yourself to someone who's never spoken a word of English before.
Ooh. Let me just switch off my little background thing so you can see. This is what I would probably show you right now, but it changes all the time, daily, every moment. So
Nice one.
if I had to do that, I would probably just tell them to sit in front of me and either look at me and feel, touch, listen, all of those things. Or I would draw something or sing something or do all of those things. And that would be me in that moment.
And so you're the gatekeeper to the planet. And you're going to take this person through a history and time of our country and our land and our earth. And you got to prepare this being. What would you say to them? Or him or whatever it is. So, this is who I am. And show them the picture. So now come with me and I'll show you my home. What would you do to prepare them?
What would I do to prepare them? Well, I would just teach them, or if they already know, then I'd ask them to do the same, like draw them, paint them, or do that to connect to themselves.
Okay. I want you to ask the same question to me.
Okay. If you were the gatekeeper to the planet and somebody came that never spoken a word of English before or any language, what would you do to introduce them to this place?
And I have the ability to go through time with no boundary. I would say to them, I'll say, what you see is a living organism that is connected to something amazing. You're going to see things and hear things that are going to contradict one another, but that's part of life. What you're going to feel before we go in, because I want you to feel, not see, this beautiful relationship between all living. I'm going to show you the mountain. I'm going to show you the river. I'm going to show you the relationship between the birds and the animals kingdom and the insects, and how amazing the subtlety of this beautiful, beautiful planet that has so much life on it. And then I'm going to show you something that's going to question all that beauty. And it's going to come in the form of a great storm. It's going to come in forms of a great meteorite. It's going to come in forms of anger, bombs, guns, knives, hatred, sadness. You're going to see the balance in a time lapse. And I want you to see the bigger picture. If you speak of millions of years, then the sufferings of the human life today that you're going to see that I live with is there but a drop to the greatness of this great, beautiful time of life. It's just so small. So trust me, when I lead you down the paths of the ghettos of the streets of LA or the Indian slums or the bombings that are happening right now in parts of the countries that are affected by them. When I take you to the hospitals where you see people dying by thousands for the COVID-19, I want you to know it's just a very small part of great life on this planet. And for us, we don't want to lose sight. I don't want you to lose sight that this is something that we will overcome. And life will continue. So let's get ready, lock yourself in, and as soon as you start to see things and feel things that really question life, why are people or animals or anything alive, I want you to remember standing on the top of a mountain and feeling the greatness of great beauty. And I want to show you a strong woman, someone who's gone through some of the most toughest times and still reaches out and serves people on the streets of the toughest places we could ever believe in. I want to show you my grandmother, who went through the most toughest beginnings of her life and still produced a family that has nothing but wanting connection. You need to see the bigger picture before you get caught up in the sadness of this moment. There is some greatness there as well. So strap yourself in. I've got some pavlova and some crayfish. They're my two favourite things. And if you taste anything else, and obviously we'll show you Collingwood, the greatest football team known to man, because we don't want to ruin all the other teams, but let's be honest, it's just showing one great team and then we can move on.
The only problem with that whole story is that the person couldn't understand English.
Yeah, and it's like, So the reason why I asked you that question, Zal,
Yeah. Mm.
is because there is a part of your life that we can focus in on. There's so much of you, mate. What do you choose to show people, mate? Which one? And are you going to hide your truth away from us? Because then if you do that, then, well, it doesn't mean that you're showing the whole truth of life in its greatest fullness. There is some really tough things. This planet has served so many harsh floodings, fires, tornadoes. Are you okay to hold back like me when I was going through my turmoil? You don't have to specifically name everything. You just need to say, you know what, I'm not perfect. And I really didn't like myself for a long, long time. But that was just a facade. There's only a small part of my life that I had to really have a strong look at my relationship with myself. And if you get the magnifying glass out on any relationship, you're going to, whoa, don't eat that cake. It's got a lot of sugar in it, man. And don't use that one-use plastic. What are you doing? But it's one of the greatest inventions, something that will never, ever, ever go away. So where's the balance? Living in two worlds. Is there balance here, Zal? What's our teachings today? Doesn't matter. There's 20 people online or 15 or 1,000 or 1,000,000. Does it matter? How many worlds do you want to change? And are we in a position to make sure that we must start? And my nephew is online right now. When did you start loving yourself, mate? And if you can answer that question, then that would be a great conversation to share with some of the most challenged young people of our community today. You have a gift, and I'm asking you, I'm pleading with you to get a good relationship with that story and share it like there's no tomorrow. Someone out there needs you, mate. Just like you, Zal. Your story is important, mate.
Just started pouring down rain here.
Perfect.
Mm. Ooh. I would love to play a song. Yeah, I'd love to play a song. It's
So
called
before you play that,
Yeah.
what do you reckon is happening to those rivers right now and those logs?
Yeah, they're filling
They're
up.
moving. They're moving.
Yeah. Mm. Song that I'm going to play is called New Moon Rises. I wrote it out at Bering Booting Rock, 2016 New Year's Eve, and recorded it at the sunset as the sun went down. And it's about rebirth. You've seen it all. You've lived your life. You're alive, but you don't feel at all. New moon rises and life becomes so clear, clear. I have left those feelings now, my dear. What have I become? Something more, something less. I don't know, but I'll feel it all again. I'd say that.
Bravo again.
Thanks, Shaun. I'd say that question, the question that you asked of what are our teachings from today? That song, singing that song answered that question for me in a few ways.
Perfect.
Yeah. So we have about 15 minutes remaining, and in that time, I'd love to be able to kind of summarize or in some way connect all the dots with what we have been speaking about today.
Is there any questions from anyone?
Yeah, if anyone has any questions or any comments or anything you'd like to say, please do write it in the chat panel, and we could have a conversation of some sort. And it's actually while we're awaiting that, people thinking and feeling ready to write. There was a story that you've told a while ago. The story of like the flooding up north, where the Yamajinunga story that you tell. Yeah, I actually met a lady who used to live in Mount Magnet, and she told me this story about how when she used to live there, she left for the weekend, and she went back, and her family was living in a small house there that the floods had come through, and she was flooded in. So they lived there for a while, And every day she would like sleep out on the veranda and watch as the moon reflected off the water that came all the way up. And they had to wade through the water to get to the other side of the little hill to get to the cars and things like that. And this concept of dancing in two worlds, the story world, in which you told me that story, and then the real world, in which this lady that I met had lived through that flooding, the water that rushed through. And then she said, and then after that flooding, the wildflowers came, the coming of the colors. And all these little sparks and dots started like connecting in my mind when I met someone real who had been there and done that. And it ignited this spark within me to say, oh, I want to go there. I want to experience that. I want to live that. I want to live the story. And that's a little bit of a reflection from me about, I guess, a bit of the summarization of today's conversations of connecting the two worlds and the story and the real. And when I learnt about that, it just really excited me, and I was all kind of flowing with emotion. And then and I kind of I started drawing it, and I started listening to the stories again, and just like trying to reconnect all the dots, and then I kind of settled down, and I started I went for a walk, and I just started observing things again, and it was just this beautiful like flow of energy that came and went and passed. Yeah.
Yeah, how a story can unite, incite a sense of want and the longing and the desire. Yep, I guess as we always know, these stories usually reflect the story in ourselves and go, oh, gee, well, I did something similar, or I had somewhat of a want to build a balance. I felt the fires, now I want to feel the floods. So, something that, some people go, wow, I really want to know what it's like to be near a raging river after a long sustainable heat and fire. But I guess if you go and sat with the person at the river who lives there, they'll be going, I wish I was more in the desert, getting away from the rivers. This long sustainable living or being near water, drown me out, mate. Everything's wet, everything's droopy, everything's constantly, need to be cleaned. Oh, woe is us, right? So some things are good in small doses. And that's the balance of subtlety in long-term relationships. How do you find the small doses to keep you connected, and inspired, so to speak? Tough one for some.
There's a story that I wrote recently, and I'd love to share it now. It's quite a short one. It's called The Wise Traveler. And so there once was a wise traveler who walked the land. They walked during the peaceful times and when there was great abundance. And they also walked during the difficult times, during war, famine, flood, and all these. So during the wartime, the great traveler was walking, and they came across a boy who was sitting by the river, and he was crying. He walked to the boy, and the boy said, I'm so sad. I've lost everything. This war, we were the richest in the town. I had everything that I needed, and then I had to leave, and I was left with nothing. And as the traveler went to sit down to reply, out of their pocket fell a gleaming gem. And the young boy looked at it, and he became alert, and he grabbed the gem, and he said, oh, a shining gem. What I could do with this, I can go back and I can sell this, and it'll fix all my problems. So he ran away and stole the gem. The traveler looked on and smiled and continued walking on their path. So years went by, and the tides shifted from the war times, and now it was great abundance, time of great abundance and peace. And the traveler was walking, and they came across a young girl sitting at a river. And they walked up to the young girl, and the girl was crying, and she said, oh, I'm so sad. I've lost everything. We were the richest in the town, and then I had to leave, and now I have nothing. And as the wise traveler came to sit with her, she leant forward, and out of her pocket fell a shining gem. She looked at it in anger, and she picked it up, and she threw it at the wise traveler and said, I don't want it. It's worth nothing to me. I'm so angry. And she ran away. The wise traveler picked up the shining gem and looked at its resemblance, put it in their pocket, and continued walking. So that's the story of the wise traveler.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a few things you can take from that.
Yeah. Yeah. What you said just sparked that story. It reminded me of that one.
So, shall I share one while we're still waiting? Hopefully someone will send us a message.
Yeah.
I was up in Broome doing some work up in Broome with all the local community and prison area, just really introducing myself and just getting people connected in some area. And Uncle Kimberly Hunter, who's no longer with us anymore, he passed away a few weeks ago, and it's been quite a sad time for our people to know that such a great man is no longer here with us, but he's in our hearts and our minds and so on. So he sat me down one day, and he said, I'm going to tell you the story. And I said, right. And he said, right. There was this young little boy who wanted to go fishing, and his dad would rock up on the Monday or Tuesday, and he would say to his dad, Dad, let's go fishing and catch that fish. Let's do it together, and we can catch fish, and we can feed it to Mum and everyone in the family. And the father said, son, I'm so tired. I've had a hard day's work. I need to get my shoes off and relax. Maybe we'll try tomorrow. So Tuesday came, and he's driven home, and he's coming in late as normal. And the young boys that meets him at the front, Dad, can we try fishing before you get out of the car? Come on, let's go. He says, oh son, Dad's had a tough day. Can you please forgive me? But let's try again tomorrow. So the next day comes, and he's forgotten all about it, and his son's out the front with the fishing tackles and everything that he needs. And he says, Dad, I've got it all ready. I know you must be tired. I've done all the work. All you have to do is we just drive down to the river or down to the and catch some fish. Father looked at him and said, Son, I wish it was that simple. Dad's had a really tough day. Okay, Dad, and he dropped his head. And his father reached down and gave him a hug, and he says, all right, and he pulled out his finger and he says, I pinky promise, son, on my day off on Saturday, I'll take you fishing. You pinky promise, Dad? Absolutely. The week goes by, Father's working hard, no problems. His son's not asking him to go fishing. Come the Saturday morning. Father's up usually around about 5 or 6 in the morning. So he's up reading his paper and having his coffee, and his partner's cooked some beautiful breakfast for him. And he spends this time just reflecting about the world's issue, and his feet up on the table. Bang, crash, boom. The young fella's up around 6-ish, grabbing his fishing rods, screaming and yelling, "Yay, we're going fishing, we're going fishing. Dad, you pinky promised, you know." And the father went, "Oh, my goodness, my first day off. How do I get into this? I should have said Sunday, you know." And his wife looked at him and said, "You promised. You pinky promised." "Yes, I did. Give me a chance. I'll sort this out." He says, "Come with me, son." And he's taken a piece of paper from out of the paper that he was reading. In the center, there was this beautiful map of the world. And he said to his son, "Look, son," and he ripped it all up in front of him. He said, "Son," he's only like 6, 7 years old, "what I'd like you to do is put the world back together, and then we'll go fishing." "Dad, you want me to put this back together and then we can go fishing?" Yes, and we'll go. Once you do this, we're in the car and we're going." "Oh, awesome, Dad. Oh, I can't wait." So off he goes, puts his feet up on the table. The wife looks at him and says, Why can't you just go? Enjoy your time with your son." Hey, he's having his time. He's enjoying it, knowing that we're going to go fishing. And I get a few hours, if not most of the day, to get my rest that I need it. He's happy. So the young boy is in there going at 100 miles an hour. And all of a sudden, within about 20 minutes, this young boy runs back into his dad. "Yay, we're going fishing, Mom. I've done it. Yay, Dad, I've done it. Woo!" And his father looked at the clock and said, "No way. No, couldn't possibly have done that." He walked back in there and he seen the world all perfectly put together. And he looked at his son and he looked at his partner. They both were stunned. He said, "Son, you're a genius. How would you know all the intimate of the world? How can you know this and put it all back? I ripped it up into small pieces. How? I've got a genius as a son. I didn't even know it. Oh, my goodness, son, tell me, what did you do?" He said, "Dad, when you were ripping the paper up, on the other side was a man. I put the man back together and the world followed." My Uncle Kim, he's a very well-balanced man, I always believed. He had a lot of jokes and he was very serious at many times, but he was just in the distance most of the time. Do you know most of the greatest gifts are in the distance? Just waiting patiently to give a gift. And he said to me, "My son, this is a story I've been holding on for a long, long time. And I believe that this is your story. And I hope you carry it well." Cried my eyes out. There's no bullshit there, mate. This is his truth and what he saw. I can deny it all I want. But if there are people out there that can see from a distance and close up and give something like that to someone, then maybe, just maybe, I'm on the right path. So don't underestimate a story, hey?
Well, that was awesome. That was a beautiful story. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Uncle Kim.
Yeah, thank you.
Bless you, my old father. Such a tough thing to not have him here. Anyway, I don't think any questions came through in our storytelling.
Just comments. Thank you, Kylie.
Thank you,
Maybe
Carl.
we have, well, it's 1 o'clock now, and I'd love to finish with a song, if that um, connects to you as well. It's called Universal Love by Della Morrison, who's Kobe Morrison's mother, my second mother.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and Kobe translated it as well for her as a gift. Yeah, so this is that song. Mandawunya ingero bayanga jinang mila dan Wajiknya Kurt Barabara Buramugaram Enin Mayak Wanga Warma Ken Mondi is with our people tonight. See the future clearer. Time to unite. Speak with one voice. Heal your heart. Release the burden, make a new start, feel the energy of the spirit through your soul.
Yay. Bravo again.
Thanks, Uncle Shaun. Yeah, I'd love if you could kind of finish it off for us in some way, whatever felt right for you.
Yeah. I think, something comes to mind, but then I think it might be a bit long. So I'm thinking of something that can be short and sort of sum up what we're doing. Is there anything you can think of, Zara, right now?
I feel like the song said everything for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, I think I think my mind has softened, and I hope that everyone who's listening gets a somewhat balance to the two worlds, and know that they're not separated. It's only one world, and that world is in us, and it's external. And allow your center, your spirit, to be able to ignite something in you, and and trust that there are people around just waiting for you sometimes to say, you know what, it's okay. And give them permission as you give yourself permission to just be. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing to wake up today and say, well, maybe, just maybe, we can change a few worlds within a world. Enjoy your heartbeat. Remember the subtlety. Sometimes we need to put our hand on our heart and feel the rhythm of life to know that we are part of life. And when you take your next breath, I hope you take it with great intent to use it wisely and to find some love out there that fulfills what's deep inside you. And who knows, we might be able to get a smile or two through some tough times, as we know we are, but we may be able to forge our great-great-great-great-grandchildren's life with a bit of love as well. So thank you very much for having me. Wish you all the well. Thank you, Zal, for all your great work and your beautiful music. I hope everybody feels connected.
Thank you so much, Uncle Shaun. And thank you everyone for attending and being a part of this with us.
You guys.
All right. See ya.